Friends, thank you so much for that incredible welcome. And Rohit, thank you so much for the way you introduced me and the way your family and you have contributed so much to our community. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. I am truly delighted to be invited to make this speech today, because for the past 2 weeks, as you've probably known, I've had a very easy, relaxing time. Hardly anything of any importance at all has happened to me. But you might have noticed in some of the newspapers, they've taken a bit of an interest in me. I haven't read them all, but some of the things I've read are this, that according to one headline, Jeremy Corbyn welcomed the prospect of an asteroid wiping out humanity. Now, asteroids are pretty controversial, and it's not the kind of policy I'd want this party to adopt without a full debate in conference. So can we have the debate later in the week? Another newspaper went even further and printed a mini novel that predicted how life would look if I were Prime Minister. It's pretty scary, I have to tell you. It tells us football's Premier League would collapse. Now, that makes actually a lot of sense, because it's quite difficult to understand how all our brilliant top 20 teams in the Premiership would cope with playing after an asteroid had wiped out humanity. So that's a no-no for sure. And then the Daily Express informed readers that I'm not quite sure how many greats there are here, but I think there's 3 or 4, great-great-great-grandfather, who I'd never heard of before, was a very unpleasant sort of chap who apparently was involved in running a workhouse. And I want to take this opportunity to apologise for not doing the decent thing and going back in time and having a chat with him about his appalling behaviour. But then there's another journalist who has obviously been hanging around my street a great deal, who quotes, "Neighbours often see him," that's me, "riding a Chairman Mao-style bicycle." Now, less thorough journalists might have referred to it as just a bicycle, but no. So we have to conclude that whenever we see somebody on a bicycle from now on, there goes another supporter of Chairman Mao. Thus, the Daily Express have changed history. But seriously, conference, it's a huge honour and a privilege for me to speak to you today as leader of the Labour Party, to welcome all our new members. More than 160,000 have joined the Labour Party. And more than 50,000 have joined since the declaration of the leadership and deputy leadership election results. And I'm very proud to say, in my own constituency, our membership as of last night had just gone over 3,000 individual members and 2,000 registered supporters. 5,000 people in my constituency. I want to say, first of all, a huge thank you to all of the people of my constituency of Islington North and Islington North Labour Party for their friendship, support, and all the activities we've done and all the help and support they've given me in the past few weeks. I'm truly grateful to them for you. Thank you very much indeed to everyone in Islington. But above all, I want to welcome all our new members to this party, everyone who's joined this party in this great endeavour to change our party, change our country, change our politics and change the way we do things. And above all, I want to speak to everyone in Britain about the tasks Labour has now turned to, opposing and fighting the Tory government and the huge damage it's doing, and developing Labour's alternative. Renewing our policies so we can reach out across the country and win next year, starting in Wales, in Scotland, in London, in Bristol, and in local government elections across Britain. And I want to repeat the thanks I gave after my election to all the people who have served the Labour Party so well in recent months and recent years. Firstly, to Ed Miliband for the leadership he gave our party for the courage and the dignity he showed in the face of tawdry media attacks, and also for the contribution I know he'll be making in the future, especially on the vital issues of environment and climate change. Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much for all you've done. And to Harriet Harman, not just for her leadership and service, but for her commitment and passion for equality and the rights of women, the way she's changed attitudes and law through her courage and determination. The Equalities Act is one of many testaments to her huge achievements. Thank you, Harriet, for everything you've done and everything you continue to do. I also want to say a big thank you to Ian McNicol, our General Secretary, and all our party staff in London, in Newcastle, and all over the country for their dedication and hard work during the general election campaign and the leadership campaigns, and also to all the staff and volunteers who are doing such a great job here this week in Brighton at this incredible conference we're holding. Thank you to all of them. They're part of our movement and part of our conference. And also, I want to say a special thank you to the fellow candidates who contested the leadership election for this party. It was an amazing 3-month experience for all of us. I want to say thank you to Liz Kendall for her passion, her independence, her determination, and her great personal friendship to me throughout the campaign. Liz, thank you so much for that and all you contribute to the party. And I want to say thank you to Yvette Cooper for the remarkable way in which she's helped to change public attitudes towards the refugee crisis, and now for leading a task force on how Britain and Europe can do more and better to respond to this crisis. Yvette, thank you for that. And to Andy Burnham, our new Shadow Home Secretary, for everything he did as Health Secretary to defend our NHS health service free at the point of use as a human right for all. I want to say thank you to all three for the spirit and friendship with which they contested the election. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Andy. I want to thank all those who took part in that election at the hustings and rallies all across the country. Our party at its best, democratic, inclusive and growing. And I've got new people to thank as well. The talented colleagues working with me in the Shadow Cabinet, Labour's front bench, an inclusive team from all political wings of our party, from every part of our country. It gives us the right foundation for the open debate our party must now have about the future. I'm not a leader who wants to impose leadership lines all the time. I do not believe any one of us has a monopoly on wisdom and ideas. We all have ideas and a vision of how things can be better. I want open debate in our party and our movement. I will listen to everyone. Because I firmly believe leadership is about listening. We'll reach out to our new members and supporters, involve people in our debates on policy, and then our party, as a whole, will decide. I've been given a huge mandate by 59% of the electorate who supported my campaign. I believe it's a mandate for change, and I want to explain how. First and foremost, it's a vote for change in the way we do politics, in the Labour Party and in the country. Politics that's kinder, more inclusive, bottom-up, not top-down, in every community and workplace, not just in Westminster. Real debate. Real debate, not necessarily message discipline all the time, but above all, straight talking, honest. That's what the politics we're going to have in the future in this party and this movement. And it was a vote for change in our party as well. Let me be clear. Under my leadership, and we discussed this yesterday in conference, Labour will be challenging austerity. It will be unapologetic about reforming our economy. To challenge inequality and protect workers to challenge inequality and protect workers better. And internationally, we'll be a voice for engagement in partnership with those who share our values, supporting the authority of international law and international institutions, not acting against them. The global environment is in peril. We need to be part of an international movement to cut emissions and pollution, to combat the environmental danger to our planet. These are crucial issues, but I also want to add this. I've been standing up for human rights and challenging oppressive regimes for 30 years as a backbench MP. And before that, as an individual activist, just like everyone else in this hall. Just because I've become the leader of this party, I'm not going to stop standing up on those issues or being that activist. So my first message is to David Cameron. I say to him now, a little message from our conference, I hope he's listening. You never know. Intervene now, personally, with the Saudi Arabian regime to stop the beheading and crucifixion of Ali Mohammed al-Nimer, who is threatened with the death penalty for taking part in a demonstration at the age of 17. And, while you're about it, terminate that bid made by our Ministry of Justice to provide prison services for Saudi Arabia, which would be required to carry out the sentence that would be put down on Mohammed Ali al-Nimer. We have to be very clear about what we stand for in human rights, because a refusal to stand up is the kind of thing that really damages Britain's standing in the world. I have huge, undying admiration for human rights defenders all over the world, and I've met hundreds of these very brave people during my lifetime working on international issues. And I want to say a special mention to one group who've campaigned successfully for the release of a British resident, Shakar Amir, from Guantanamo Bay. This was a campaign of ordinary people like you and me, standing on cold, drafty streets for many hours over many years. Together, we secured this particular piece of justice, because that is how our human rights were won, by ordinary people coming together, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That is how our rights and our human rights have been won. The Tories want to repeal the Human Rights Act. Some want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. And just to show what they're made of, their new trade union bill, which we're opposing very strongly in the House and the country, is also a fundamental attack on human rights and is in breach of both the ILO and the European Convention on Human Rights. Now, I've been listening to a lot of advice about how I do this job, and there's plenty of advice around, believe me. And actually, I quite like that. I welcome that. I like to listen to advice, particularly the advice which is unwelcome, because that is often the best advice you get. The people that tell you, yes, you're doing great, you're brilliant, you're wonderful. Fine, thank you, but what have I done wrong? Oh, I haven't got time for that. But I want to listen to people, but I want to do things differently as well. I've been told, never repeat your opponent's lines in a political debate. But, and I take a but here, I want to tackle one thing head on. The Tories talk about economic and family security being at risk from us, the Labour Party, and perhaps even more particularly from me. I say this to them: how dare these people talk about security for families and people in Britain? Where's the security for families shuttled around from one private rented sector flat to another on 6 months tenancies, with children endlessly having to change schools? Where's the security for those tenants afraid to ask a landlord to make a repair to a dangerous structure in their own homes because they might be evicted because they've gone to the local authority to seek the justice they're entitled to. Where's the security? Where's the security for carers struggling to support older family members as Tory-inspired local government cuts destroy social care and take away the help they're needed? Where's the security for young people starting out on careers knowing they are locked out of any prospect of ever buying their own home by soaring house prices? Where's the security? Also, for families driven away from their children's schools and communities and family ties by these welfare cuts? And where's the security for hundreds of thousands who've taken on self-employment with uncertain income, no sick pay, no maternity pay, no paid leave, no pension, now facing the loss of tax credits that keep them and their family afloat? There's no security for 2.8 million households in Britain forced into debt by stagnating wages and the Tory record of the longest fall in living standards since records began. And that's really the nub of it. Tory economic failure. An economy that works for the few, not the many. Manufacturing still in decline. Look at the Tory failure to intervene and support our steel industry, as the Italian government has done. So, as we did yesterday in conference, we stand with the people on Teesside fighting for their jobs, for their industry and their community. And whilst the company has said it will mothball the plant and lay the workers off, therefore it is not too late now, again, to call on the Prime Minister, even at this very late stage, this 12th hour, step in and defend those people. Other governments like the Italian government have done the same. Why can't the British government? What is wrong with them?